So there's a channel called Swetchman that has started pumping out videos for World of Tanks Blitz. They've only started a couple months ago, and in a few months I've been able to gain 12,800 subscribers in just 32 videos, some of which breaking over 100,000 views. Now I am all good for World of Tanks Blitz getting more content creators, especially if they have good opinions. However, clickbait garbage is something that I don't like, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. You see, the majority of these videos feature not only some very clickbait titles, but also just factually wrong information, which we'll be talking about. For example, look at the thumbnail here. The rarest tanks, only 0.3% have this tank. Ah, yes, the Russian World War I tank that has never existed in Blitz and never will. Yes, clearly that's not clickbait at all. And then you move your way up to this one, which we're going to be taking a look at here. Object 279E is in the thumbnail, and we can see it there as well. Again, these are never tanks that will ever be in Blitz, and it's just flat clickbait. But, okay, I can excuse some clickbait thumbnails. That's not the end of the world if what you're actually saying in the video is fine. So the title is Never Buy These Tanks, the worst premium tanks in World of Tanks Blitz, alright? So we start off with an advertisement, whatever, alright? So we move on to the AT15A.
A premium tier 7 tank. Though it's a stretch to call it a tank, it's more like a leaky tub.
So I should first of all point out that this is obviously using some sort of AI or voice, text-to-speech. But that's getting off topic for the main point of today's video. We are here to talk about why you should not trust this channel on most of the stuff they're saying. For example, this video here, never buy these tanks, worst premium tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. Now obviously, this is guided towards newer players and average players. Good players like myself, are not going to watch content like this to find out what the worst premiums are in Blitz are. So if you're a new player, and you're watching this, alright, the first worst vehicle, the AT-15A, a Tier 7 British Premium Tank Destroyer. Okay, the video has some okay points, it's slow, and quote-unquote the armor's not very good. That's really all you can say, because the gun is incredible. It's got insane levels of DPM, might not have the highest damage per shot, but it is the highest damage per minute Tier 7 in the game. And guess what? Make your way over to Blitz Analysis, my favorite website, and we can see top 20 tanks by relative win rate for average players. And look at that, AT-15A is the third highest performer. So we can look at like 45 to 55% players, and you can see it right here. AT-15A, it is the third highest win rate vehicle. Why, you might be asking? Just because a vehicle is slow does not mean it's a bad performer. Two reasons. First of all, slow is actually better for new players. It means that you're not going to YOLO in instantly, rather than getting a medium and kill yourself without actually understanding mistakes, where to drive. Being slow actually allows you to learn because it shows you where you should go to get into the action and where you shouldn't be to get yourself caught out and die. Not only that, but it's also the fact the vehicle actually has pretty good armor. It's got super good DPM. If you get bounces on the front of this tank and you're able to out DPM your opponents, even if you're not very good, it still allows you to actually get out some decent damage. Plus, you're a tank destroyer, which also plays as a heavy, meaning that you essentially just have an additional heavy on your team with no real downside. When you add all these things together, it's no doubt in my mind why the AT-15A is actually one of the top performing vehicles. So already, the first point of this video is wrong. The AT-15A is a really good vehicle for beginners. I know it sounds stupid, but the stats don't lie, so that's what I'm going to say. Irish Bucket, okay, it's an Angry Connor, who cares? It's not a good tank, but it also, nobody cares about this vehicle. Nobody's going to buy this. French Cockroach, I wouldn't say the 1357 is a bad vehicle. It's not a good performer. I doubt it even makes the list anywhere, but it's not a bad tank by any means either. It's just a fairly average vehicle. It's not a tank that I would say is one of the worst premiums. Make your way. We have the subpar mouse VK168. Again, it's not a bad or good vehicle. It's just a pretty mediocre tank. And then we finish off with this, the American Tier 7 TD, the T28 HTC. Now, would you like to see something funny? You might have already seen it if you looked at the video before. T28 Concept is the #1 performing tank in Tier 7. It is the #1 win rate vehicle in Tier 7. Literally the complete opposite of what this video is saying. Not even close. Why is the T28 concept so good? It's literally a 268 version 4 at tier 7. It's fairly mobile. It features a great gun arc. It's got super high DPM, pretty good penetration, and ridiculously strong armor with almost no frontal weak spots. So already, this first video is just blatantly lying. What it's telling you is wrong. The T28 concept and AT-15A are both very strong performers. Plus, I should point out that this person doesn't even mention that the vehicle is fantastic for gravitizing, which is absolutely sad. So, yeah, pretty disappointing stuff just in this first video here. Clearly, it's just not right. The AT-15A and T28 HTC are both fantastic vehicles and literally the highest performers in tier 7. If you make your way to the actual worst performing tanks, we can take a look. Lowest relative win rate, E25, FE201, AMX MLE45, Vindicator, which I don't know why the Vindicator wouldn't make the list. It is literally the worst tank. I've talked about this in the past. The Vindicator is a pile of trash. I do not know why people would not put that as the worst tank in the game. That's not even making your way in the tier 8. I don't know what the worst performing tier 8s would be in the game. We can take a look here. Lowest relative win rate. Okay, Lech Panzer. Not a bad vehicle, but definitely for beginners. I can easily understand the T25 Pilot 1. Easily understand the Caliban. I don't know why these tanks aren't on the list either. The VK168 doesn't even remotely scratch the bottom, as you can see. Why? Because it's a German Super Heavy. German Super Heavies have a crap ton of health, and that means that you're able to use that health to easily just slowly make your way into your opponents. You hit hard. At the end of the day, this video is wrong. All of these things are wrong. The only one that I can somewhat agree with is this, the Angry Connor. But who cares? It's a tier 6. So, already not off to a good start. Now we are on to a video posted 6 hours ago. Don't buy these auction tanks from World of Tanks Blitz. We are taking a look at the auction vehicles, what you should and should not buy. What he says about the ML 1951 is alright. I'm not going to criticize it too much because it's fine. But let's take a look at what he says about the Object 260.
Now, let's talk about a tier 10 heavy tank, the Object 260. Before the rebalance of all tier 10 tanks, this tank was considered one of the worst collector tanks at its level. However, after the rebalance, it got a new lease on life. Now it's a genuinely strong tank with good armor, excellent mobility, and high damage per minute. Even a novice can handle this tank since it can teach you how to play similar tanks, and there are many of them in the game.
What? This is a good vehicle for a novice? The Object 260 is legitimately the worst tank out of all the auction vehicles to buy. First of all, it is literally the least sold tank on the auctions. For good reason! It's a pile of turds compared to the majority of collectors. I literally recorded 2 videos on the Object 260 just the other day, trying to block 2,000 damage. It took me 5 games to block 2,000 damage. I could drive an IS-7 any day of the week. And now that the IS-7 actually has good pen, it's better in just about any way compared to the 260. Sure, this vehicle has DPM, but it doesn't have penetration. You left that out. Thing has some of the worst pen for a tier 10 heavy. The vehicle's armor buff, still dookie. It is an incredibly disappointing vehicle. If we take a look at the bottom 20 tanks by relative win rate, the Object 260 is right here next to the 121 and T95E6. If you are a beginner, do not buy the Object 260. It is literally one of the worst purchases that you can make. It is not a fun tank. It does not have great things going for it. Its penetration is mid. And second of all, you shouldn't be buying a tier 10 as a new player. You should be buying a tier 8. You should be experimenting there. At this point, I've not watched any more of the video, so we're going to have to see what is said here about the rest of the tanks in the Blitz Fair auction. We have the T22 Medium, we have the Predator, AMX CDA Conf Panzer, T28 Defender, 122 TM, and the Lance and C. Let's go.
Another tank that gained a second wind after the rebalance is the T22 Medium. Previously, all Soviet medium tanks were almost identical, and the T22 Medium got lost among them.
This is already wrong. What? None of the Soviet mediums were ever identical. I mean, the Object 140 at one point was, I guess, similar to the 62A, but ever since Wargaming gave the 62A the mobility buff, and then they gave it gun depression. The 140 has never had a similar playstyle. The 140 has played like a light for about the past year now, where the 62A has played more as a brawling medium. And the T22 has been its own unique medium for literally ever since its release. I've made multiple videos on the tank throughout the years talking about how it is still incredible and how power creep really hasn't affected this tank. So I don't really know where that's coming from, to be honest.
Becoming somewhat outdated. But now, they've been significantly differentiated. If the T62A is a tank for positional play relying on armor, and the Object 140 leans more towards being a light tank than a medium one, the T22 Medium is designed for breakthroughs. While its armor may not look impenetrable, you'll often find yourself bouncing shots, especially on the sides of the hull. I'd say it's the tank with the most deceptive armor in the game. Just watch how it can finish matches against multiple opponents. I want to note that this replay was made before the tank received armor improvements. Just imagine what it's capable of now. However, it's not all sunshine.
Okay, well, let's just keep going.
Rainbows. To tank effectively in this tank, you need to get used to properly angling the hull and constantly staying in motion. That's the secret to success with the T22 Medium. Overall, at 12,500 gold, it would be an excellent choice for intermediate and skilled players. Let's keep going.
I mean, he had some correct things there, like saying the T22 is a good medium for breaking through, but apart from that, he was wrong about everything else. He said this is only a good vehicle that he would recommend for skilled and experienced players, but he recommends the 260 for new players. I can tell you for a fact that you will bounce more shells and do more damage in a T22 medium as a new player than you will in an Object 260. In fact, I'd be willing to say that the T22 is probably one of the best mediums for a new player to experiment in the game with, because its armor is forgiving. You will get bounces that you won't in normal mediums just by making doofus plays. That's what allows the T22 to be so strong. So, no, I don't agree with that take at all. I also like how he talks about how the vehicle got a buff in terms of its armor, but didn't actually show what the buff was, because I'm going to be honest, guys, it didn't really get much of a change. And also forgot to mention that in 10.3, it lost 250 DPM. It's almost like this is paid by Wargaming here. It's almost like this is a Wargaming made channel, because it only talks about how the tank has good this, good that, oh, how it got better in update 10.3, even though it literally got worse in 10.3. So I don't get that. Don't get me wrong, the tank's strong, its armor's still great, but it got a nerf in 10.3. The DPM got worse for a negligent amount of armor buffed. It just kind of got worse.
Friends, as I promised at the beginning of the video, I've prepared a new giveaway for you in honor of
Okay, classic giveaways, okay.
And now, we've got something from the Blitz Bastards, the Predator. Honestly, I have no idea what the developers were thinking when they added this tank to our game. Just look at it. It looks so cool with that sleek blue color and machine guns on the sides. You might think it's equally awesome in battles, but I've never been more wrong. This tank is like the official punching bag. It's incredibly easy to penetrate from any angle, and it can't do much in return. In short,
What?
I strongly advise against buying it, even if it's priced at 2,000 gold. Actually, even if they were giving it away for free, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't want people thinking strange things about me.
What are you talking about? Huh? I'm so confused. The Predator, I wouldn't say it's like the most strong tier 7, because it's not. But what? The gun isn't good. Like, that's what he said. He said the gun is not very good. I mean, if we make our way into Blitz, we gotta wait for it to load a teeny bit. The Predator has one of the strongest guns on a tier 7 heavy. I'm not even joking. The vehicle, if I'm not mistaken, has like 2,500 DPM, which is actually pretty dang impressive. Where is it? There it is. The Predator UM. The vehicle features a 3-shell autoloader with 2,400 damage per minute, and it deals 180 damage per shot with a 1.5 second interclip. That means it can deal, what, 560 damage, something around there, almost 600 damage in 3 seconds? That's pretty dang devastating. Sure, it doesn't have that much gun depression, but it actually has good hull armor, 150 mils on the front. Because it's angled, it's about 190 on the upper plate. So I don't really know what he's talking about there. I've got a 66% win rate with almost 2,000 average, and that was probably 4 years ago when I first got my hands on the vehicle. It's pretty solid. I'm not going to say it's the best tank ever, but imagine saying that a vehicle that is quite strong you would not give away for free. Or again, these are just stupid blanket statements.
What the fuck?
Okay.
Next up, we have another tank that I wouldn't recommend you buy, the AMX Canon 105. Why do I advise against it? Well, it's quite simple. It's useless. You just don't need it. It doesn't boast any impressive characteristics, especially when there are more interesting tanks available. I don't even know what to say about it, so let's just skip this one and we'll move on.
This is everything that's wrong with World of Tanks Blitz players and content creators. The fact that this channel is succeeding posting fully clickbait videos, saying information that is just blatantly wrong, saying there's nothing good about the CDA. Don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest fan of the vehicle. I remember when it came out, Meadsy said he really liked it, and I said it was okay, which it is. It's an okay vehicle. But saying there's nothing unique or, standing out about the tank is just wrong. It's got good accuracy. It has some of the best mobility for a tier 8, let alone tank destroyer in the game. It has solid armor, 8 degrees of gun depression, and a pretty solid gun. It's actually a very flexible tank, and I kind of liked it when I played it not too long ago. So, it's just honestly really disappointing to me to see the World of Tanks Blitz audience is fooled by clickbait titles and watches videos that are just blatantly wrong on facts because they have editing that looks cool and flashy, when in reality it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But let's keep going.
The KP-70 is actually a pretty decent tier 9 heavy tank. However, here lies its main problem. It's a tier 9 tank, and it will consistently find itself in battles against tier 10 tanks.
Okay.
Would you want to play like that all the time? I wouldn't. So even though I have it, I don't play it. In general, it's better not to buy it. I believe there will be tanks in the future that are much more interesting and cost-effective.
Wow. That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. It's a tier 9, and because it can fight tier 10s, you shouldn't get it. Wow. First of all, the Kampfpanzer 70 is one of the best tier 9s in the game. The vehicle features incredible alpha. It has really solid armor, great mobility, and it's one of the most enjoyable and fun tanks that you can buy. In fact, I believe that even though the price tag is a little high, this is still an incredible tank, and people that don't have it are definitely missing out. In fact, that's literally what I said in my auction review earlier today. This is the worst take I've ever heard right there. It fights tier 10, so it's not very good. That's like me saying that the T77 isn't a good heavy because it can fight tier 9s. What?
Let's move on and look at the next tanks.
Sweatshand Man.
We have the T22
Transition.
Defender. This tank features a drum-fed gun with 3 rounds and a total damage output of 1,200 units. However, delivering all 3 shots will take you quite a bit of time, given that the reload for each round is 6.5 seconds. That's quite a long time for an autoloader. In my opinion, this tank isn't worth buying. Let's move on to the next one. WZ-122TM. It's a Chinese medium tank that packs a punch with a high single-shot damage of 400 units. Additionally, the tank boasts decent armor. You might think it's a good buy, especially considering the not-so-high price. However, I urge you not to buy it for a clear reason. At tier 8, there's a tank that outperforms it in almost every...
Are you ready? You ready for it? You ready for it? The Chimera. You know what's funny? I literally just recorded a video. In fact, you can see it right here. I hadn't watched Sweatshand Man. I hadn't done this yet. I literally just recorded a video comparing the Chimera to the 122TM because I saw the 122 came out in auctions, and I said that this tank is a flat better Chimera. You're about to watch him say that the Chimera is better when it's not. The armor on this tank, I'm going to tell you now, the armor on this tank is better than the Chimera on the hull by double. It's way better on the turret. And even though the alpha is not as high, DPM is almost the same. This vehicle has more penetration. It has great aiming time. It's better than the Chimera. In fact, on average win rate, the 122TM performs better than the Chimera. So,
every aspect, the Chimera.
whoa! Who would have guessed that?
So, save your gold for a tank that will be better overall.
Alright, so he's just wrong there. I would highly recommend, if you want a heavy that is basically a medium, or let me rephrase it, a medium that is basically a heavy, would recommend the 122TM.
And finally, we have another rather unremarkable tank, the Lansen C. The situation here is similar to the previous tank. There's no point in buying the Lansen C when there's a stronger counterpart in the form of the M4A1 Rev M. By the way, you can win the M4A1 Rev in my giveaway.
And there's his giveaway again. But he doesn't talk. Like, this is the worst thing ever. He doesn't talk anything about the tank. He doesn't say what's good, what's bad. This is literally just, this tank's not good because there's a better tank. Like, what? This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. All right, here's my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. If you watch this channel, you should stop. Like, you can go ahead and you can tell me in the comments I'm wrong. I don't care. If you find this content enjoyable, go ahead and watch it. That's not my problem, and you're free to watch whatever you want. But just know that if you're watching this content, you are being fed lies, and it is all incorrect. I don't have a problem with the person creating this, but it is lazy work. It's a bunch of editing, mumbo-jumbo, thrown in to make it look nice and pretty, when in reality, it's just wrong. All of it is wrong. Like, yes, the Lanson, I wouldn't recommend to pick it up. It's a fun tank. It's got some strengths going for it, which he doesn't tell you anything about. But at the end of the day, it's still not a tank I'd recommend to pick up, but it's still fun. Nothing in this video talked anything about... It's literally, at the beginning, talking about an AI voice changer, which is kind of funny because he's literally using an AI voice replicator to make the video. And then he talks about a giveaway halfway through to boost his views. It's just, this is bad. It's really bad. I'm going to be honest, guys. I would highly recommend to not watch this person. And if he takes offense with me making this video, honestly, he can deal with it. This is a really, really bad, this is just a really bad channel. I'm going to be honest. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.